was going to start with Diamond Notes, brought to you by London Jewelers, and talk about an impressive Mets win yesterday in a house of horrors for them. In a very important day for the Atlanta Braves when they honored the 50th anniversary of Hank Aaron breaking Babe Ruth's record. Falling behind 4-0 and then winning the game 8-7. There's a team that was 0-5, but they're 4-1 their last 5 games. And it does prove anything, Don and Peter. And we say this every year. Nobody listens. It's a really long season. You can bounce back, especially from 0-5. Now, I know things didn't look good because they weren't hitting, but they are hitting. They're going to get back J.D. Martinez, or they're going to get him soon, and that's going to only make them better. Don, that's a nice win for this team.
Well, it's unexpected. It's the Braves. It's a house of horrors, and you're down 4-0 going to the fourth. Your starting pitcher got DFA'd today, so Tehran, I guess his era is over. He had a pitch count of 75, and he was at like 50 by the end of the third inning. And you're down 4-0. You're like, all right, this is it. This is over. You don't have much of a bullpen to speak of. And then you come back, you tie the game, only to give the lead back up. And then you take an 8-5 lead. Then you see that start to dwindle. And then the big play by Taylor keeps it an 8-6 game at the time, and then you end up winning the game 8-7. When your bullpen's depleted, your starting pitcher gave you nothing, and Nimmo finally woke up.
That's right.
And that's a nice win. As you said, since that ugly start of 0-5, the team's lost just once, and the only reason they lost on Saturday, Michael, they had a lead against the Reds that just didn't have anybody in the bullpen to be able to close it out. So I don't know how sustainable any of this is, but to go up against the Braves and win a game that, in all likelihood, what was the win probability down 4-0 going to the fourth? Like that ESPN win probability was probably down to like less than 10%. And then you win the game, and now you're 4-6, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, 0-5, a distant memory.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, it's one of the silly things about baseball. We're in the business of talking about it every day, but I mean, what are we talking about?
Although, and you know what it is, Peter? I think that people are so obsessed with football, and every game in football is huge because it's 1 of 17. So I think people transfer that thought process to baseball. Now, you start off 0-15. It's hard to recover from that. 1-15. Like, the Marlins are 1-10. They're probably not recovering from that.
Right. They're getting close.
Right. They're getting close to, like, bagging their season. The Mets, I don't think they're a great team. I think it's going to be very tough for them to get the third wild card.
Yeah, but the hopes that you had, if you're a Met fan, and the idea that was sort of being put forth by Steve Cohen of what this team could be this year, the way they could overachieve. Right. I'll just say this. You may not believe it, Michael, but it's certainly back on the table. They could absolutely still be that team.
When the last time they were 0-5 was an 0-5. And then Beltran hit that home run. They beat the Braves. They go on a 6-game winning streak. They ended up going 83-79. Now that's not anything great. But in this day and age with a third wild card, that means you're going to be playing meaningful games in September.
Right.
You might not get eliminated till the last week of the season. I think a Met fan would take that, Michael. Finish above 500. Have meaningful games in September.
You want to be in it at the trade deadline, because then I believe that Cohen will flash his wallet and he'll make a trade for a guy who makes a lot of money to make a run at it. That's not going to impact the future. So that's what you're aiming for. And if you want to look at like histories of teams starting off poorly, you don't have to go that far. In 1998, the Yankees were 1-4. They won 114 games. Now, there's Met teams not going to do that. I think the bullpen is short. I think the back end's okay, but it's not deep enough. I don't think they have enough starting pitching.
No.
And I don't like the fact that Senga, we haven't heard anything about him.
Nothing.
So that doesn't bode well. I just don't think they have enough starting pitching, which they could have gone out and gotten. They decided not to do it. We'll see how Hauser pitches tonight. But do you change that? Like, they're playing a 4-game set with the Braves. So going in, you probably go, I want to split. Well, they won the first game. You getting greedy now?
Well, I mean, you'd like to. I'd still take the split, honestly. It wasn't like you played clean last night either. I mean, you won a game when Lindor goes 0 for 4. Alonso goes 0 for 4. Alvarez goes 0 for 5. Right? So, the guys that are supposed to hit didn't. But, you got a great night from Nimmo, 4 for 4 with 5 RBIs. Beatty's been really nice, Michael. 3 for 5. He's batting .333. He's been pretty good defensively. Stewart finally gets a hit, and it's a big home run in the game. And Taylor had the big defensive play in the 9th inning. So, there's still a lot of things that need to get cleaned up. I'm not going to get greedy. Yeah, of course, I want to win every game. But if you end up getting a split with taking 2 out of 3 from the Reds, and then you got the Royals coming up this weekend, and then you get to 500, get above 500, and you start to play ball. It's interesting, Michael, you brought up the trade deadline, because I think some Met fans were thinking, be out of it at the deadline. Let's see if we can get something for Martinez. Maybe you decide to trade Alonso rather than toy with the possibility of losing him in free agency and get nothing in return. Maybe you trade Marte at the deadline. But now, if you keep your head above water, as you said, Cohen doesn't worry about adding salary if he thinks he's got a chance to make it. Remember, he said he'd be disappointed if they missed the playoffs. So I'm sure he'll be aggressive that the team's still alive. So if you're rooting for that, and I am, that's what you hope for. Just keep your head above 500 and just keep trying to win series and see what you can make out of this season.
And in the wild card era, you really have to recalibrate the way you think. The Diamondbacks, they sneak into the playoffs last year with 84 wins, 2 more than the Yankees, who had a disaster of a season. And they went to the World Series. So you get hot at the right time, you never know. So 0-5 is a distant memory. They're 1 game under 500. If they could do some damage here, they come home. They have Gooden's retirement on Sunday.
Wow, already?
Yeah.
Wow. Why not?
Well, 2 games under 4 and 6, so they still have work to do to get to 500. But
6 and 1.
Oh, they're 4 and 6. Okay.
And how cool? I don't know if you saw the highlights, Michael. How cool was it to see the Braves wearing the old uniforms for the 50th anniversary of Hank Aaron's home run?
I thought it was cool.
I mean, those are ugly uniforms, but it was cool that they brought them back for that moment, acknowledging that moment.
And the big hero, I don't know if you realize this, Peter, was J.D. Stewart. He did a good job.
He's not going to get that, Michael.
You got it, though.
Oh, because it's DJ Stewart.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. There you go. There you go.
He's not going to get that, Michael.
And Michael, you know what The Rock's nickname is when he's not wrestling, right?
The final boss?
No, in terms of his name.
DJ?
Everyone calls him JD.
Why JD? His name
Dwayne
is
Johnson.
Dwayne Johnson.
Dwayne Johnson, that's right.
Oh, JD. I see what you did. See, I wasn't going to get that either.
No, we tried.
Those are Diamond Notes.